always when you get something from Bethel. But Pastor, you want to say good morning to the people?
Well, good morning, Grace and Peace Church family. I want to start off with our foundational scripture for the year. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18 says, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are unseen, for the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are unseen are eternal. Which means what you see today, whatever situations or circumstances you're dealing with, what you see is subject to change at any moment.
Any moment. I'm telling you, that's a preaching scripture right there. Whatever you see is subject to change at any moment. Well, one of the things that was subject to change is the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, I will never forget March 13th. I was sitting at work and we got the message that schools were shutting down. Grab your things and just prepare to be home for we don't know how long. Initially, it started out as 2 weeks, but it has gone on because of the coronavirus and COVID-19. So many things have changed. But we were trying to, as best as possible, maintain our calendar for the year. And June is usually men's season. We have women's season in May, and in June we go into men's season. So we want to try and honor that at least for the next 2 weeks where we talk to the men.
I'm excited because I love talking to men, and I've spent many weekends, many Saturdays teaching men all across our city in various churches, and many of you are watching that I've been to your church and have taught your men some churches for an extended period of time. And I love empowering men because I not only believe that men are the head, but men are the foundation. So if we can get the man right, we can get everything else in our homes, in our communities, in our schools, in our government right, because men are the foundation.
That's right.
And so, like you said, Pastor, at least for the next 2 Sundays, I want to just spend some time talking to our men.
Now, I do want to say you have a very popular message that you have preached before entitled The Expectations of a Man. Very popular. I mean, series were done from this, workshops created. The men really benefited from those teachings. And I believe today you're going to talk to us a bit about that?
I am going to talk about that, but I want to also just thank God for all of the mighty men of Bethel that he has blessed us with. Our church would not be what it is without all of the men. And we're entering into Father's Day week, and many of our men are fathers or uncles or big brothers. And we're going to do something great for our men next week. But today, I want to spend time just talking briefly from a lesson that I did entitled The 4 Expectations of a Man. 4 expectations of a man. You know, honey, there are 4 things that God expects of every man.
Okay.
4 things God expects of every man. Number 1, he expects maturity. Number 2, he expects consistency. Number 3, he expects decisiveness. And then number 4, he expects strength.
Okay.
Maturity, consistency, decisiveness, and strength. But there are 4 things every woman expects from a man.
All right.
4 things every woman expects from a man. Number 1, every woman expects maturity. Number 2, every woman expects consistency.
Okay.
Y'all can say amen, sisters. Number 3, every woman expects decisiveness. And then number 4, every woman expects a man to be a man of strength. And that's not necessarily talking about physical strength, but moral strength, mental strength, emotional strength. But then there are 4 things that every man struggles with.
Okay.
4 things every man struggled with. Number 1, maturity. Number 2, consistency. Number 3, decisiveness. And then most men, a lot of men struggle with strength, being strong morally, being strong ethically, being strong emotionally. And so with these 4 things, these 4 expectations that God expects of a man, that a woman expects of a man, that every man struggles with, I believe that we ought to take time and we ought to spend time teaching these 4 expectations to man. None of us, many of us as men, I should say, there was not a class dealing with manhood 101 when we were growing up.
Right.
I had the privilege of having a good father. My father is still alive in the earth today. And my father raised 4 boys. And my father raised us in these principles because he knew that he was not only preparing us just to grow up and have a good career, get a good education, but he was preparing us for the next generation. He was preparing us for our wives. He was preparing us to be fathers to our children. But many men, unfortunately, many men who are watching did not grow up in a home where the dad was there, nor did they have a positive male influence in their life. And so men had to learn how to be a man from sources that may not have been positive sources. I hope this is making sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Men had to learn how to be, a man learned how to chase a woman from another man. A man learned how to drink beer or smoke weed from another man. And so a lot of things that we learn as men, it is critical that we teach and we begin to build the man, because men teach other men.
That's true. That's good.
Next Sunday, I'm working on a message that is going to be a very powerful lesson. And I'm going to do a series on it.
Okay.
I'm working on a lesson entitled The Unstoppable Black Man. The Unstoppable. It's not a racist message. It's not even racist in tone. But one of the things that I understand is that black men struggle with identity.
Wow.
And when I study the Bible, I see black presence from the Old Testament all the way through the New Testament church that is never taught in a history class, that is never taught, it certainly wasn't taught in the seminary that I went to. We won't give the name of the seminary that I went to. But men struggle with identity. And these 4 expectations are a part of the identity of man.
Wow. This is a powerful teaching. It's a wonderful teaching. And I believe, especially in the day and time in which we're living now, and if I could sidebar, I have like 2 little sidebars. One, kudos to Dad, because he did an excellent job with you and your brothers, raising you all to be men. And that was a tremendous blessing, not only having him in the house, but he was also a father to the young boys at the church who may not have had their father.
Yeah.
Because our church, the culture of our church was that of family.
That's right.
You know, in spite of over 75% really being family, but you felt like family there. And it was, we grew up under that, the motto or the theme where it takes a village.
Yeah.
And the church was our village, and anybody parented you. So kudos to Dad, because he did a wonderful job with you and the other young men at the church that really looked up to him. But then to our men, our African American men, I want to say kudos to you. Mm-hmm. I'm very passionate about men's ministry and supporting you and whatever your heart's desire is as it relates to men's ministry, because I feel that too often Black men are not given the credit they deserve.
You know, I was watching a clip by a good friend of mine, our good friend, Pastor Keith Battle. Mm-hmm. And I love Pastor Keith because he's such a practical teacher. Mm-hmm. And Keith was saying that our families should be the Black man's biggest cheerleaders. Mm-hmm. Because he gave the analogy of fighting in a boxing ring. Mm-hmm. And he said for 3 minutes, a boxer is out in the ring and they are fighting. And they're fighting for 3 minutes, fighting another opponent, getting hit on, pretty much getting beat up. And they cannot wait for that bell to ring. Because when the bell rings, they go to their corner. Mm-hmm. And when they get to their corner, they have a stool in their corner. They have a water in their corner. They have ice in their corner. They have they put on Vaseline in the corner. They have somebody in the corner calling them champ. Right. And they have not even, won the fight yet. And they have a coach in the corner telling them how to effectively navigate the next few rounds. He said, but what if they left out the ring and went to the corner and there was no stool, there was no water, there was no person calling them a champ? Mm-hmm. The problem is we cannot fight in the corner and fight in the ring at the same time.
Wow, that's powerful.
We can't do it. We can't do it. And so it's this teaching that I do on maturity, consistency, decisiveness, and strength. These are things that the women in our lives can help develop in our lives. These are things, the thing I loved about growing up, and I honor your dad, who's in heaven today. Your dad was a man's man. Yeah. He was a man's man. And your dad was the epitome of these 4 things that I'm talking about today. And I remember we was going through a very challenging time in our life. And I was kind of holding my head down. And your father looked at me and said, as a man, don't you ever hold your head down. Because no matter what, you are going to pull through. You're going to overcome this. He said, you are a strong Black man. And those words gave me life. And so I want to just say to the men today that my message to you is we are supporting you. Over the last couple of weeks, we have seen the plight of everything that is going on with Black men and Black women in this country. And our Black men are dying at the hands of police brutality. And yes, Black lives matter. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And the reason why we promote that message, and it is not some type of occultic message, as has been said, but it is a true message because for over 400 years in this country, there still has not been a vaccine found for racism, the virus of racism in this country. And we want to build up men. Yeah. We want to build up men. So in the last few moments that we have left in this teaching, I want to just take one of those expectations: maturity, consistency, decisiveness, and strength. I really don't have time to unpack it.
Yeah.
Normally, I would be standing in a classroom, a fellowship hall, a conference room for 2 hours teaching this lesson. But time will not permit me to do that this morning. I want to talk about maturity. We alluded to maturity last week
Yes.
in the Smart Life teaching.
Living a smart life. Yeah.
Powerful teaching. Powerful teaching. Maturity means maturity does not come with age.
No.
Maturity does not come with academics
That's right.
or accomplishments. But maturity in men, listen, brothers, maturity comes with the acceptance of responsibility. How do you know you are mature? When you accept responsibility for someone other than yourself. Okay, you remember the scripture that says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing.
Yeah. Proverbs. I'm not missing.
I think it's Proverbs 13:7. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains the favor of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is the correlation with finding a wife and obtaining the favor of the Lord? Here it is. When God sees that a man is willing to accept responsibility for someone other than himself, he empowers that man with favor. When he sees that you are not going to be selfish, it's not all about you. It's not about your personal agenda. It's not about what you can get. Or I wish this was a marriage enrichment, because I can say a few more things, but we need to be in a closed session for that. When you, man, my brothers, are willing to accept responsibility for someone other than yourself, your wife's well-being, her care, her peace, her joy, God gives you his favor as a result. So maturity means I accept responsibility. I believe that's why I have the favor of God on my life right now, because when we got married, it was not all about me. It was about my wife, who is my favorite. And sisters, those of you who are looking and expecting God to send you a husband, you got to make sure that one of the first characteristics that you see is maturity. Because if he's not willing to accept responsibility for your whole life, my dad told us this. When my brothers and I was getting married, my father called all four of us in, and one by one, as we was all getting married at various times. And my father told us this: if you are not willing to love her and to treat her better than what her father treated her, leave her at home. Don't take her away from her father's house.
That's right.
Because he was telling us what he lived for the 36 years he was married to our mother.
Mm-hmm.
He accepted responsibility for her and obtained the favor of the Lord. And so I wish I had time. Oh my God. I wish I had time to unpack this. Maybe I'll do it in our Tuesday night Bible study. I need all of our men at Bethel to be in Bible study on this coming Tuesday, because there are some things that I want to share further. So, 4 expectations of a man that God expects, that a woman expects, that most men struggle with: maturity, consistency, decisiveness, and strength. And next Sunday, I'm in the study all week. I'm in the lab all week because the Lord gave me this message about 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, we always say God gave us something at 3 o'clock. I guess that's the most spiritual time. That got to be the if you ain't get it at 3 o'clock in the morning, you might as well leave it alone. But literally, I woke up at 3 o'clock, and the words I heard in my spirit was the unstoppable black man. And I want to look at the contributions of the black man to this country and throughout the Bible. And one thing I want to say, skin color does not determine success in life.
No, it doesn't. It does not determine success in life. And one thing I just want to add on, I don't know if I ever did my other part 2 of the sidebar, but to our African American men, you are essential.
You are essential.
You are essential. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with baby mama drama. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with multiple baby mama drama. You are essential. And the reason why I can tell you you're essential is because you're here.
That's right.
Anybody that's here, you have a role to play. You have a responsibility. You have a contribution to make, not only to your family, but to society.
Yeah.
So I really want to encourage the heart of our African American men. I want you to know that you are essential, that you matter. Your life matters to us, because without your life, it extinguishes our life. So we really have to rally together, be supportive of one another. And just like there's the teaching with the expectation of the men, there's a teaching for the expectation of women. We have to know how to support our man, how to keep our man, how to encourage our man. And it's a no-holds-barred teaching. You know, I don't hold anything back, but that's at another time. It won't be on a Sunday morning. But I really want to celebrate and appreciate our men, especially during this men's season and upcoming Father's Day on next week. God bless you. You know, just from my heart, I'm not closing out, but I love and appreciate our men of God.
Yeah. So we want to close out. We want to give you an opportunity to make the greatest decision that you can ever make in your life. The first point of living a smart life is giving your life to Jesus. So if you need Christ in your life, if you need a church home like Bethel, or you simply need change in how you've been living, we want you to dial the number on your screen, 240-339-4838. That's our life change number. And we want to pray with you and pray for you that you would give God an opportunity to change your whole life. And while we're closing, we want to receive our morning offering, our tithes and offering. We want to thank our great church, for your generosity. Even during a pandemic, you've been trusting the Lord. Yes. And we want you to continue to trust God with the first fruit of all of your increase. You can give through Givelify at Bethel Church, Bowie, Maryland, or you can give on our Cash App at Bethel Church, the $ Bethel Church, Bowie. We thank you so much for your giving, and we look forward to seeing you this time next week. Be blessed.